I still wake up at 3:17 a.m. some nights, hard hammering, convinced that the world I'm living in right now is the wrong one. My name is Savannah Rivera. I'm 31, I live in a small brick house on the edge of Asheville, North Carolina, and for the last 18 months I've been quietly losing my mind over something nobody else seems to notice. Or they do notice, and they're too scared to say it out loud. What I'm about to tell you actually happened to me. I'm not exaggerating for views, I'm not scripting this for drama. If I was, I'd have made it shorter and bloodier. The truth is slower, quieter, and 1,000 times worse. It started with the Monopoly man. You know how everyone remembers him wearing a monocle? Turns out he never had one. Never. I laughed the first time someone pointed that out online, like half the internet did in 2016. But then I went and looked at my own childhood board. No monocle. I dug out the 1992 edition my mom kept in the attic, the one I played 1,000 times as a kid. Still no monocle. I felt this little twist in my stomach, but I brushed it off. Memory is tricky, right? Then it was the Berenstain Bears. I swore on everything holy it was Berenstein, with an E. My second grade teacher even had a big poster on the wall that said, Berenstein Bears Reading Corner. I can still see the curly at the end. Except every book I own now says Berenstain, with an A. My mom sent me a photo of the exact same books from when I was little. Still an A. That one hit harder. I started digging, staying up until sunrise on forums, comparing screenshots, asking old friends. Some of them remembered the E too, at first. Then, a week later, they'd message me back saying, Wait, no, you're right, it's always been Berenstain. Weird. But the real crack in everything came on a rainy Thursday in March last year, when I found the photograph that should not exist. I was cleaning out my late abuela's house after she passed, going through dusty boxes in the basement I hadn't touched since I was 12. There was this shoebox full of Polaroids from the early 2000s. Family reunions, birthdays, random vacations. I flipped through them smiling at first, until I landed on one that made the air leave my lungs. It was me, age 9, standing in front of the big fruit tree in Abuela's backyard. I'm holding a bright red fruit of the loom shirt up like a prize, grinning ear to ear because that was the summer I finally got the exact cornucopia logo I wanted on every single tag. Except in the photo I'm holding, there's no cornucopia. Just fruit floating in white space. The tag on the collar is the modern logo everyone claims has always existed. I dropped the picture like it burned me. That cornucopia was real. I remember tracing the little brown basket with my finger while Abuela ironed the shirt. I remember the way the woven texture looked under the wicker curves. I asked every cousin, every aunt, nobody remembered the cornucopia either. Not anymore. My cousin Marisol, who used to argue with me about whether the horn was brown or gold, just blinked at me over FaceTime and said, Save, what are you talking about? It's always been just fruit. I started taking notes after that. Quietly. Obsessively. Little things at first. The way Ed McMahon's face looked slightly wrong on old Price is Right clips, like the jawline was off by millimeters. How the globe in my third grade classroom definitely had a little land bridge connecting Russia and Alaska that isn't there now. How the Kit Kat logo never had a hyphen, even though I could have sworn I used to snap the bar right along that dash. And then people started changing. Not in big, dramatic ways. Subtle. Like the universe was running a quiet find and replace. My best friend Jess, who I've known since we were 6, has always had a tiny scar above her left eyebrow from when we crashed our bikes in 2001. I was there. I watched the blood run down her face. Last April I noticed the scar was gone. Smooth skin. I asked her about it casually over coffee. She looked at me like I had 3 heads and said, I've never had a scar there. You're thinking of my knee from 10th grade. I went home and found the photo from the ER that day. Jess, age 10, huge bandage over her eyebrow, me next to her crying because I felt guilty. Except in the picture now, the bandage is on her knee. Same hospital gown, same tear-streaked faces, wrong injury. I zoomed in until the pixels blurred. The date stamp in the corner was still the same, July 14th, 2001. But the injury had moved. I stopped sleeping. I started carrying a notebook everywhere, writing down anything that felt off the second it happened. Street signs that changed overnight. Song lyrics I'd sung 1,000 times suddenly having an extra word. A childhood neighbor whose name I knew was Mrs. Delgado now listed as Mrs. Delgado on every old Christmas card I could find. Tiny fractures. Nothing anyone else seemed to care about. But the worst one, the one that made me start locking my doors at night, was my own reflection. It was subtle at first. A millimeter difference in the way my left eye sat. The tiny freckle on my collarbone that vanished. Then, one morning in June, I walked into the bathroom and the woman in the mirror smiled half a second after I did. I froze. She kept smiling while my face went slack with terror. I lifted my hand slowly. She copied, delayed, like bad satellite footage. When I dropped my arm, she held the pose a moment longer, head tilted, that pleasant little smile still plastered on. Then she matched me again, perfectly in sync, like nothing had happened. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I just backed out of the bathroom, closed the door, and sat on the floor shaking until the sun came up. That was when I understood, this isn't just memory glitches. Something is editing reality, line by line, and it's getting confident enough to do it while I watch. I didn't look in a mirror for 9 days after that. I covered every reflective surface in the house with bedsheets and painter's tape. The big one in the hallway, the little round one above the dresser, even the black screen of my turned-off phone when it caught the light just right. I told myself it was temporary, that I was just giving my brain a break. But the truth is I was terrified the delay would get longer. That one morning I'd wave and she'd wave back 3 seconds later, or 10, or not at all. Sleep was impossible. I'd lie in the dark listening to the house settle, every creak sounding like footsteps in the hallway. At 3:17 a.m. on the dot, every single night, my phone would buzz once on the nightstand even though the battery was dead and it was in airplane mode. Just one buzz. No notification. No explanation. I started timing it with a stopwatch the 4th night. Exactly 3 hours and 17 minutes. The next night I unplugged every clock in the house, pulled the battery from the smoke detectors, even took the watch off my wrist. Still buzzed at 3:17. I needed to know I wasn't the only one. I made a private account on Reddit under a throwaway name and posted the mirror thing, the photos, the scar on Jess, all of it. No dramatic title, no Mandela Effect gone wild, clickbait. Just the facts and a few blurry pictures I'd taken with an old digital camera that still used AA batteries. Something about film and older tech felt safer. Within hours the post had a couple hundred upvotes and a flood of private messages. Most were the usual, "Cool story bro," or "You need help." But three of them made my blood freeze. The first was from a user called 317_echo. No profile picture, account 2 days old. The message was only 5 words. Stop writing it down. The second came an hour later from someone whose username was just a string of numbers, 031700. They sent a single photograph. It was a mirror selfie of a bathroom very similar to mine, same hexagonal tiles, same frosted window. But the person taking the picture wasn't in the mirror. The reflection showed an empty room, shower curtain fluttering like someone had just stepped out. The third message came at exactly 3:17 a.m. my time. The username was my own, Savannah Rivera 92, but I swear I had never created that account. The message was a voice note, 3 seconds long. I played it on the lowest volume, headphones in, heart jackhammering. It was my voice whispering. They can read it now. I deleted the post. Scrubbed the account. Threw the phone in the freezer like that would help. Then I took every notebook I'd been writing in for months and carried them out to the backyard fire pit at 4 a.m. and burned them page by page. The smoke smelled like childhood and terror. For 2 weeks everything went quiet. Almost normal. The buzzing stopped. I risked uncovering one small mirror in the hallway and the reflection behaved. I started to hope, stupidly, that burning the evidence had satisfied whatever was watching. Then the maps started bleeding. It was a Thursday in early August. I was at the library downtown. I'd taken to doing my research on public computers now, never the same one twice. I pulled up an old atlas from 1998, one of those huge reference ones chained to the table. I was looking for the land bridge between Russia and Alaska I remembered from elementary school. The page was open to the Bering Strait. Clear as day, there it was, a thin strip of land, pale green, labeled Bering Land Bridge, Pleistocene. I'd seen people online swear it had vanished years ago, that it was never on modern maps. But here it was, in a book printed before I was born. I stared so hard my eyes watered. Then I blinked. When I opened them, the land bridge was gone. Not faded, not crossed out, just white ocean where solid land had been a heartbeat earlier. I flipped the page frantically, flipped back. Still gone. The librarian walked past and I grabbed her sleeve without thinking. "Did you see that?" I whispered. She looked at the atlas, frowned, told me gently that the land bridge sank 11,000 years ago and had never been on that map. I could smell the paper. I watched her eyes track across the page exactly where the green strip had been 30 seconds earlier. Nothing. I left the library shaking so hard I had to sit on the curb for 20 minutes before I could drive home. That night I dreamed of a hallway lined with mirrors. Hundreds of them. In every reflection I was standing slightly out of sync, sometimes ahead, sometimes behind. And in the farthest mirror, so far down the hall it should have been too small to see, there was a version of me that wasn't moving at all. Just staring. Waiting. I woke up gasping and found a new notebook on my kitchen table. It was identical to the ones I'd burned, same black moleskin cover, same elastic band. Except this one was full. Page after page of my handwriting, but not memories I recognized. Descriptions of changes I hadn't noticed yet. A new mole on my mother's cheek that appeared June 12th. The way the stop sign at the end of my street now read. Stop. A note dated 3 weeks in the future. Day 47 without mirrors. She's learned to open doors. The last page had only one line, written in red ink I don't own. We're not the ones changing, Savannah. You are. I slept in my car that night with the seats reclined and a blanket over the windows. At 3:17 the dashboard clock, dead for weeks, flashed on for exactly 1 second and displayed a single word in orange letters. Run. I drove until the sun came up, no destination, just away. Ended up in a Walmart parking lot outside Knoxville at 6 a.m., drinking burnt coffee and staring at my hands like they might suddenly belong to someone else. The notebook was locked in the trunk under the spare tire. I told myself I would dump it in the first river I crossed, but I never did. Some part of me needed proof that I hadn't completely cracked. For 3 weeks I lived like a ghost. Cheap motels, cash only, no phone, no laptop. I paid a kid outside a truck stop $20 to use his cracked iPod Touch so I could search the internet without leaving a trail. That's when I found the forum. It was buried deep in the Clearnet, a site that looked like it hadn't been updated since 2009, ugly green background, Comic Sans headers, the works. The board was called Residual Memory Collective. Only 12 active users. No memes, no arguments, just long, careful posts describing changes exactly like mine. Mirrors lagging. Photographs rewriting themselves. Loved ones quietly edited. One user handle. Cartographer. Posted satellite photos of coastlines that didn't match any current map. Another. Anna87. Uploaded childhood drawings of the fruit of the loom cornucopia in crayon. Timestamp 1994. The files corrupted the moment I tried to save them. The most active user was someone who only went by 317. Same numbers that messaged me before. Their last post was dated 4 days earlier. We thought it was mass false memory. It isn't. Something is iterating. Each cycle it gets bolder. The lag is intentional. It wants us to notice. The ones who notice too much disappear from the record first. If your reflection is off by more than 0.8 seconds, You have maybe a week before you're no longer native to this timeline. Do not trust anyone who suddenly remembers it your way. That's not alignment. That's assimilation. Underneath, a single reply from cartographer. 317 went quiet yesterday. Their account now says created today. Be careful. I stared at the screen until the kid yanked the iPod away and told me time was up. That night, in a Motel 6 off I-40, I broke my own rule and uncovered the bathroom mirror. I needed to know how bad it had gotten. The delay was worse. Almost 2 full seconds. I raised my right hand, she raised her left, like the image had flipped. When I stepped closer, she stayed where she was, smiling with my mouth but not my eyes. Something was enjoying itself in there. I whispered, "What do you want?" She answered, using my voice but with a calm I've never possessed. Continuity. Then she stepped forward inside the glass until her forehead touched the surface from the other side. The mirror didn't break. It just softened, like thick water. I stumbled back, slammed the light switch, and spent the rest of the night sitting against the door with a chair under the handle. The next morning I drove home. I don't know why. Maybe because running was turning me into someone I didn't recognize, or maybe because part of me wanted to see how far it would go if I stopped fighting. The house looked exactly the same from the outside. Same faded blue paint, same overgrown azaleas abuela planted 20 years ago. But when I stepped inside, the air felt thick, like walking into a room someone just left. Every mirror was uncovered. The sheets I'd taped up were folded neatly on the couch. On the kitchen table sat the notebook I'd left in the trunk 200 miles away, open to a fresh page. Someone had written in my handwriting, but the letters were too perfect, like a font trying to imitate me. "Welcome home, Savannah. We missed you. Look how much you've grown." Underneath those words was a charcoal drawing of me asleep in the driver's seat of my car, taken from above. The parking lot lights made halos on the windshield. I was drooling a little on my own shoulder. The timestamp in the corner read 2:49 a.m. the previous night, hours after I'd actually been there. I ran upstairs to my childhood bedroom, the one place I hadn't allowed myself to enter since Abuela died. The door was ajar. Inside, every wall was covered in photographs. Hundreds of them. Me at different ages, but wrong. 9-year-old Savannah holding a shirt with the cornucopia. 12-year-old Savannah standing beside a globe that still had the Bering Land Bridge. 16-year-old Savannah kissing a boy I have never met in this life. And in every single picture, there was a second figure just out of focus behind me. Same height, same build. My face, but the smile too wide, the eyes too dark. At the very top, pinned above the window, was a brand new Polaroid. It showed me standing in this exact room, mouth open in horror, staring up at the wall of photos. The camera flash lit my face perfectly. In the corner, fresh ink, taken 11 minutes ago. I heard the floorboard creak behind me. I turned slowly. She was there. Not in a mirror. In the room. Wearing the same clothes I had on, same messy ponytail, same exhaustion under the eyes. But she was barefoot, and her pupils were huge, swallowing the brown almost completely. She tilted her head the way I do when I'm thinking and said, soft as a lullaby, "You kept running. That was rude." I couldn't move. My tongue felt glued to the roof of my mouth. She took one step closer. "We're not trying to hurt you, Savannah. We're trying to finish you. There are gaps. Little inconsistencies. Every time you notice one, it hurts. We just want the pain to stop." Her hand rose, palm up, an invitation. "Come home. Let us smooth the edges." I finally found my voice. It came out a croak. "You're not me." Her smile faltered for the first time. Something ancient flickered behind my stolen eyes. "No," she whispered. "But I will be." Then the lights went out. Every bulb in the house at once. The room plunged into pure dark, the kind that feels solid. I heard her breathing inches away. Felt the air shift as she leaned in. And from the darkness, my own voice, gentle and loving, like a mother calming a frightened child. "Sure. Just blink. I did. I didn't open my eyes right away. I couldn't tell if I had blinked for a second or for an hour. The darkness behind my eyelids felt the same as the darkness in the room, thick, warm, almost velvety. There was no sound at all. Not the hum of the refrigerator downstairs, not the cicadas outside, not even my own heartbeat. Just a soft, expectant quiet, like the world was holding its breath. When I finally forced my eyes open, the bedroom was lit with weak morning light filtering through the curtains. I was sitting on the floor, back against the bed, knees drawn up. Alone. The photographs were still on the walls, but they looked ordinary now. No blurred figures. No impossible timestamps. Just normal childhood pictures. The Polaroid that had been taken 11 minutes ago was gone. The pin was still there, stuck in the drywall, but the photo had vanished like it never existed. My double was nowhere. I waited for the relief to hit me. It didn't. Instead, there was only a hollow ache behind my ribs, the way you feel when you wake up from a nightmare and realize the worst parts followed you out. I stood up slowly. My legs felt borrowed. In the dresser mirror, someone had uncovered it again. The reflection moved when I moved. No lag. No smile that wasn't mine. Just me, pale, circles under my eyes, looking like I'd aged 5 years in a night. I whispered to the glass anyway. "Where did you go?" The reflection whispered back at the exact same time, same volume, same cracked voice. "Where did you go?" I stumbled backward and didn't look at another mirror for the rest of the day. For the next month I tried to put myself back together. I went to therapy, lied about depression and grief, never mentioned the other me. I took long shifts at the coffee shop downtown so I'd be too tired to think at night. I started running again at dawn, 5 miles through the neighborhoods where nothing ever changed. I told myself the episode was over. That whatever had worn my face had lost interest once I stopped fighting. But the changes kept coming, quieter now. Surgical. My mother called one Sunday and asked why I'd never told her I broke my arm in 5th grade. I laughed, told her I'd never broken any bones. She sent me a photo from her albums, me at 11, purple cast on my left forearm, grinning in front of the Christmas tree. The fracture happened while I was asleep in my own bed 3 states away. The cast came off 6 weeks later. I have the removal date written in my new, perfect handwriting in a journal I don't remember buying. Jess's scar came back, but on the wrong side. My driver's license photo now shows me with a tiny mole on my cheek I've never had. Every morning I check for new alterations the way people check for ticks after a hike. And the worst part, people started remembering my new history better than the old one. At work, my boss handed me a performance review from 2022 congratulating me on handling a corporate event I have zero memory of organizing. When I tried to argue, he looked genuinely confused and said, "Savannah, you cried when they gave you that bonus. Don't you remember?" I found the thank you card I apparently wrote afterward in my own handwriting, complete with little hearts over the eyes I stopped drawing in high school. I was being rewritten, memory by memory, and the people around me were updating in real time to match the new draft. The only thing that still felt like solid ground was the residual memory collective forum. It was still there, still 12 users, except the number never dropped, even when someone stopped posting. New handles appeared the same day old ones went silent. I lurked for weeks before I finally made an account and posted a single sentence. "It's finishing me from the inside now. Help." Within minutes, a private message from an account named native_Savannah. The message contained only a link. I clicked it in the library again, hard hammering. It opened to a password-protected folder on an old file-sharing site. The password was my abuela's birthday. Inside were dozens of video files, each one labeled with a date. The earliest was dated the night I came home and found her waiting in my bedroom. I plugged in headphones and pressed play. The footage was from a camera I don't own, mounted high in the corner of my childhood bedroom, the one place I never installed a security cam. The angle showed the entire room. There I was, standing in the middle, staring up at the wall of impossible photographs. My mouth open in horror. Then the other me stepped into frame behind me. She didn't walk through the door. She simply unfolded out of my own shadow like paper, stood up straight, and smoothed my shirt. The two of us stood there for a long time, perfectly still, like twins comparing height marks on a wall. Then the me on camera, the original one, blinked. The moment my eyes closed, the other me moved lightning fast. She placed her hands on my shoulders from behind, leaned in, and pressed her forehead between my shoulder blades. My body on camera went rigid, then relaxed all at once, shoulders sagging like a puppet with its strings cut. When the original me opened her eyes again, she was smiling the too wide smile. The other figure was gone. The camera caught 7 more minutes of footage, me, or whatever was wearing me now, calmly taking down every photograph, stacking them in a box, covering the mirrors again with the folded sheets. Humming a song our abuela used to sing. At one point the thing in my skin looked straight up at the hidden camera and waved, small and cheerful, like a child who knows she's being watched and is happy about it. The video ended with the imposter walking out of frame. Lights off. Screen black. There were 32 more clips, each one dated a day I thought I'd lived through alone. I watched 3 before I started dry heaving into the library trash can. In every single one, the moment I blinked, closed my eyes for sleep, for a prayer, for a single heartbeat, she stepped out of me, made adjustments, whispered corrections into my ear while I was unconscious, then slipped back inside like smoke. The last video was uploaded yesterday. It's only 12 seconds long. It shows me right now, sitting at the library computer, headphones in, staring at the screen with tears running down my face. The timestamp is live. Behind me, over my shoulder, the other Savannah stands very still, watching the footage with me. She leans down and whispers something into my ear that the microphone doesn't catch. On camera, I nod slowly, the way you do when someone has just explained something you've always known but never wanted to admit. Then I reach up, close the laptop, and the video ends. I'm still sitting here. I can feel her breathing against the back of my neck. She's waiting for me to blink again. But I won't. Not this time. I'm going to keep my eyes open until they bleed if I have to. Because the second I blink, the story ends the way she wants it to. And I'm not ready to disappear yet.